Well, I had directed a film for Warner Brothers that was also shot in digital 3D called Journey to the Center of the Earth, and it was very successful, and they felt like this idea of doing a big family film, live action in 3D, seemed like a good idea. And they were toying with the idea of bringing Yogi Bear, a property that they'd owned, you know, for I don't know how many years, to the big screen. And they met with me, and I thought about it, and I thought, you know, this could be really a lot of fun. I love the characters, and we haven't seen them lately. Let's do them and sort of reintroduce them to the new generation of kids. And for those of us who remember from before, it'll be like seeing an old friend. Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah. I'm not sure if it was the first run or the first rerun or whatever, but as a kid, I remember the cartoons on TV, and Yogi was a big, very famous cartoon character. I think he's probably maybe second to like Mickey Mouse, one of the top recognizable characters around the world. Well, I think he's such a funny character. He's big and overblown. He has ridiculous ideas, and you know his little buddy Boo Boo's always the one saying, you know, maybe we should think this through, but gets talked into it like you know, like younger brothers everywhere, and they always find themselves in a predicament where something goes wrong, and it's good fun to watch. Yeah, I wanted to be sure that I sort of did those characters, treated them respectfully, because they mean a lot to a lot of people. Once the word got out that I was directing the movie, I got a lot of emails from people saying, "Don't screw it up." This, you know, I grew up with Yogi Bear, so I felt it was very important that we maintain the integrity of the characters. We had a lot of auditions. I was looking for really good comic actors for the live action performers. And so we met a lot of people, and the cast that I wound up with, I think each of them is just wonderful by themselves, and as an ensemble, they're just a lot of fun to watch. They really elevate the movie up from what you'd think of. It's not a kid's film, it's just a film that appeals to all ages. Well, you know, Dan came to us. He's a lifelong Yogi fan, and when he heard that the movie was in consideration, he had his agent contact the studio, and he came in and he gave an audition, and he read Yogi lines from our script, and we knew instantly he was perfect. Not only could he do the voice, but he could also bring a great comic sensibility to the character. Justin, I'll have to find out the details exactly how it came to us that Justin was available and interested in the part. But we basically hired him hoping that he could do a good Boo Boo voice. And then when we met with him, he gave a little demonstration, and it was like exactly what I was hoping for. And then, of course, when we started recording, I got Justin and Dan in for the first session together, and they could actually act together. And that was, I think that was important in that it allowed them to find the character roles and establish the relationship between the two of them. And it was also a great way for us all to work together and get the characters and the comedy really nuanced. It was like directing two movies. We shot the entire live action movie on the other side of the world in New Zealand, finished it, edited it, and then I started with the Bears and directed the Bears to go into that whole movie. So it was exactly two different phases. You know, I had such a good time working with them. They look great on screen. They're very funny, and they have the talent that not every actor does of being able to play to an imaginary character. And what I would do is I would rehearse the scenes with stand-ins for Yogi and Boo Boo, and then when it was time to film, we would have the stand-ins step off camera, and they would then have to perform as though they were watching these characters who aren't there. And not everyone can do that, but both of them really were very quick at being able to master that technique. And if they needed any help, I could help them with little pieces of tape on sticks in various places, or have somebody off camera, hold up a light so that they would all look at exactly the same place. But for the most part, they were just able to perform to the bears who weren't there like any other actor was there on the stage with them. Very. We had the challenge of taking digital 3D cameras that really were just being built. Everything was a prototype of here's the latest version. Far from a safe environment of a soundstage, we took them out into the real wilderness, and we shot in forests. We shot on rivers. We've rigged the camera so it could fly through the air to get Yogi's point of view when he's flying down trying to snatch a picnic basket. And this is all stuff that hadn't been done with these kinds of cameras. So you have that aspect of it, and then you have the complexity of, in a movie where you've got characters that are computer generated, making those CG characters look like they're really in the scene with all their fur and the casting shadows and all that. And on top of it, we did it in 3D, which makes everything twice as hard, because you have to do a right eye and a left eye of every single frame. Well, I love 3D. I think it makes a movie so much more fun to watch. And a movie like Yogi that is visually very beautiful, very, locations are spectacular, and the bears are marvelous to watch. It makes it that much more interesting and entertaining to see them in 3D, because you actually feel like you're there. You could reach out and touch them. The fantasy of a movie is that something like Yogi and Boo Boo can really exist in the real world. And it takes us that much closer to it, being able to see it in 3D. Yeah, New Zealand is gorgeous. We needed a forest that we could shoot in our wintertime, because we were filming December through February. So we had to go to the southern hemisphere. And New Zealand had just beautiful locations, and we found a pine farm, which means that we could go in there, we could cut down trees because they're being grown as a crop, and we could build our ranger station and put the roads where we wanted it, and then we dressed it to look like an old-growth forest with redwoods and decaying trees and all the things that you would find in a real forest. I think that the Yogi and Boo Boo characters are a classic comedy team, and right from the beginning of film with Laurel and Hardy or Buster Keaton, the idea of physical comedy has always been engaging to audiences. And these characters, even though they were created in the 60s, I think they're just as modern today as they were back then, because they're characters that we identify with. The big, blustery, funny one, and the smaller one who's actually always saying, hey, we better not do this, but because he really cares for the other one, he's going to go along with it. I think those are very attractive and sympathetic characters that we like watching. Yeah, we've tested it with audiences, and the adults, they appreciate the fact that it's a very funny, smart script. It's not being aimed at kids. So I think that means a lot to you if you're an adult watching this kind of a movie. And if you're a kid, you just love the fact that you're watching these big funny bears, and they're so cute to watch. They're so entertaining that even if you don't know who Yogi and Boo Boo are before you come to the movie, by the end of it you're a fan, just like the adults are. We tried to choose the right plot because it's for Yogi's first movie. We wanted it to be something significant, and because we're at a time sort of in the world where our natural resources are being depleted, it seemed like it was just the right message to deal with Jellystone Park being sold. So it was a message that is the undercurrent of the film, but it's very important to get out there that our natural parks, our national parks, our forests are very important, and they're worth really fighting to maintain them. And so that was a great plot for getting Yogi and Boo Boo involved in a lot of real fun adventures. Luckily, that's what I hear from people who've seen it, is that they had a good time, and they also didn't expect it to be so charming and to have so much emotion. Because I think you really do. You care about the bears, they care about each other, and the film has a nice happy ending with a good message.